Indubitably.
My computer on startup has recently been showing this still image of a tropical island out in the middle of nowhere. It looks really beautiful. And it got me thinking, the stranded on a tropical island scenario is one of my favorite fantasies. And it doesn't even have to be like a romantic style fantasy where it's like a guy getting stranded on an island with a really beautiful woman, like Blue Lagoon, for example. It could literally be just like Castaway with Tom Hanks. It's just a really fascinating topic to me that you could take someone, they might not have any survival skills and they just have to figure out how to make it. So not too long ago, I had read a book called On the Island by Tracy Garvis Graves. And I really enjoyed this book. It's an adventure story, but it's also a romance story. And I think that it works well as a romance for both men and women. And in the story, it's about a female tutor. She's approaching 30 years old, and she had been hired by a well-to-do family to tutor their 16-year-old son during the summer. And as the story plays out, they end up stranded on an island. The romantic aspect works because, for one, I think a lot of, straight young men, when they're around 16, 17 years old, will certainly have fantasies about being with an older, more matured, experienced, and attractive woman. And that's how the female protagonist is described in the book. And the way the book unfolds is later on, when the woman is approaching middle age, the man who is much younger than her still makes the decision to be with her. And it's completely understandable why it would work for both of them. What really got me thinking is this is kind of a traditional style of romantic storytelling. It makes me wonder, you can't really tell this story anywhere beyond having two heterosexual people. You can imagine the moral outrage from the LGBT community if it was, say, a straight man and a lesbian woman. And I understand why, but at the same time, I feel like one thing that people really have a hard time with these days is trying to envision what it would be like to depend on someone for years and years, and the bond that would form between the people involved during a completely unbelievable and trying set of circumstances. There was a movie some time ago with Harrison Ford and Anne Heche, and Anne Heche in real life is a lesbian woman, but in the film she was not portraying that. So that's probably the closest that anyone's come to telling that story. But I still think it's a really fascinating topic because it would just be a very interesting story and one that would really help us to understand how to live with people, despite our differences. Now again, some people would never be able to get past the idea of a straight man and a lesbian woman becoming romantically involved, even though their situation would be so unique that you almost, if you believe that it's human nature to just want to be intimate with one another, and then you picture yourself in a situation where this is the only other person that you have in the world, and maybe you've realized, you've been stuck on this island for over a year, you might never get off. This person has helped keep you alive, you've helped keep them alive. I just think it opens questions that in our current society, people aren't willing to answer. And if anything, their response would be very defensive and angry regarding such a topic. So to be fair, I've thought about this scenario and what I would do if I was involved. What if I got stranded on some tropical island and the only other person that survived who was there with me was another man who happened to be gay? And I'm straight, and now all we have is each other to depend on for moral support, keep each other safe, to learn how to survive together. And what if over time, as we discover that, I don't know if we're ever going to get off this island? When that sets in, what if this other fella comes to me, let's say after like a year and a half? So a year and a half, of just being with this one other person, learning how to live together with them, depending on that person. And then he comes to me one day and he says, look, I know this is going to make you uncomfortable, but I need intimacy. You can interpret that any way you want, but I don't think we're ever getting off this island. And I'm just putting it out there that I want this from you. All that we have is each other, and I don't want to die alone on this island without feeling the warmth and caress of another person. Take some time to think it over, but I just wanted to let you know this is how I feel. So, now it's out in the open. So I'm the straight guy. This guy just propositioned me. We have a very unique bond. I'm taking some time to think about it. And maybe I'm going back to him in a few days and I'm saying, hey man, I thought about what you said. I made this wig out of seaweed. You put that on. I got this coconut bra. Slap that on. It'll kind of squeeze your chest together, make it look like you got a nice rack. I have some conditions about this. I get to hit it from behind, but you never get to play hide your banana with me. And then that other guy says immediately, okay, deal. With one condition. I want to be able to kiss. And you've been on that island for, let's say, 2 years now. Lack the ability to shave. And you start thinking, I don't know if I can handle feeling another guy's beard scratching up against me. So you're like, no deal. It's off. It's off the table. But maybe a few more weeks go by, and this guy figures out how to use the right concoction of mud and kind of a sharp, pointy rock. Or maybe something washed up on the shore that's like kind of like a razor. And he figures out how to shave that beard off. And then underneath, he's got kind of a beautiful Justin Bieber looking face. And so to try to entice you, he's just been walking around in that coconut bra with the seaweed wig on. He made himself a grass skirt. And one night, at dusk, just the sun's going down and, he's at just enough of a distance away. He's really starting to look like a woman and, Anyways, all I'm saying is that under extraordinary situations, you can find yourself in extraordinary situations. I just think it's unfortunate that if you're trying to tell a story about being stranded on an island, that you can only tell it from the traditional standpoint. Heterosexual man, heterosexual woman. If the roles were reversed, and it was a heterosexual woman and a gay man, well, that's almost something that's been made light of in like comedies and such. I mean, I've heard women for years talk about how all the most amazing guys are gay. It's kind of funny, actually. I mean, women say that like the gay men are just incredible because they're into fashion, they're in touch with their feelings. A lot of them are in really great shape. And then the joke of all jokes is they just don't want to be with them. They just want to be with other gay guys. So that's my thought on this topic. I wish someone would write that story about two non-conventional people being stuck on an island. It would be such a great character study and worth telling because I think for us to learn how to live together and to understand each other, we need to be put into situations where we have to break out beyond the constraints that have formed in our minds. Maybe I should write this story. I'm sure I'll be canceled right away. But years from now, long after I've been canceled and stricken from the internet, maybe someone would remember that I was trying to tell that story and be like, maybe that person had some good ideas. But probably not.